Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today I am going to be talking about how to determine what your pain tolerance is in BDSM. I know when you are newer to kink, when you are discovering impact play, a lot of times it can be difficult to determine what type of play you should do, how heavy you should go, what types of tools you should use, and just really can be overwhelming with how many different types of tools and implements that are available these days to kinksters to be able to figure out, okay, what do I like and how much do I like it? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. As I have mentioned in previous videos, I am actually doing a series about this. So I'm going to be doing a whole variety of videos talking about not just how to determine your pain tolerance, but different types of pain, which I've already done. So link to that down in the description below if you want to check that out. But also how to determine what different types of toys there are that might offer you different types of sensation, how to process pain during scenes, all that stuff. So if you want to see those, I will be doing several videos about this in the future. So if you haven't already and those interest you, please do subscribe so you can check those videos out as they become live. But today I just want to strictly talk about how to find what your pain tolerance level is. Before I get too far into this video, I do first want to just give my disclaimer that I've been doing, and that is the type of pain you like and the level of pain tolerance that you have does not determine if you are a good bottom or a good submissive or a true masochist or anything like that. The reason that we talk about pain tolerance and the reason that we talk about pain and different types of pain is so that people have the ability to communicate with their partner what types of pain that they enjoy or don't enjoy, and so that everybody can have scenes that are mutually enjoyable. That's all it really is about. It's not about it being a competition or a contest or being a true masochist or being the best masochist or being a heavy bottom or whatever. And I know that those often get treated as words of prestige, and people who are able to take those kinds of pain are very much put on a pedestal in our community. But really, none of that matters. There's no trophies, there's no awards, you don't get a ribbon for taking the most amount of pain or anything like that. It's strictly what works for you. And everybody has a different perception of where their pain tolerance is at. What one person might consider not enough is somebody else's way too much. So it is very much an individual experience, and that individual experience varies throughout time and what your body is doing and so many other factors. So let's go ahead and start there. Pain tolerance is not something that is strictly consistent throughout time. People do tend to be kind of within a set range of pain tolerance, but especially if you are a female-bodied person, there are a lot of things that can interfere with or determine what your pain tolerance is. That can be things like your hydration level, what you've eaten that day, how recently you've eaten, if you have good protein or iron levels in your body, how cold you are, what clothing you're wearing, how comfortable are you with the person that you're doing a scene with, how many times have you played before, are you nervous or anxious about anything going on in your vanilla life, are you stressed about deadlines or bills or finding a new job, are you going through a breakup or other kind of emotional trauma, do you have chronic pain, are you going through any mental illnesses right now, are you taking any new medication, are you on your period, where are you at in your cycle, have you been sick recently? There are so many things that can affect your pain tolerance level. So what I like to do for determining where pain tolerance is not just make it a one-time experience, okay, you know what your pain tolerance level is now. Make it a continual process. I recommend doing this at least for a couple of weeks, if not for months, because especially if you're new and you haven't done really any kind of play before at all, the only way to really know what kind of pain you enjoy is to keep track of it and try new things. So I'd recommend keeping a diary or a booklet of some kind where you can write down the different scenes that you're doing and keep track of them that way. And honestly, this is something that is great not just for pain tolerance, but also keeping track of different scene energies that you enjoyed, different people that you enjoyed playing with, something that you can use to communicate to partners that you're playing with in the future. Hey, this is how I've experienced this before. Okay, no, I haven't done this type of play before. It can just be a good long-term communication tool and a good way to keep track of a lot of different factors that go into creating your best BDSM scene. So what I would keep track of is who you played with, what the environment was like. Was it a familiar environment? Was it new? Was it hot? Was it cold? What was your mental state that day? Were you on any new medications? If you have a female body or if you have periods, where were you at in your cycle? If you had been sick recently, basically any of the things that I mentioned before that can affect your pain tolerance level, write that down and keep track of it. Also keep track of, were you doing any new kinds of pain? If you were doing a type of pain you had experienced before, how long did you do it for? Did you need to use a safe word? Generally speaking, what were your feelings about the scene, the type of sensation that you were experiencing? Now, this is a good tool for long-term keeping track of being able to figure out where your pain tolerance is. But there's also a lot of ways that you can do this in a scene. And what I would really recommend, and is something you can also keep track of in your diary, is to use a scale when you are doing a scene with both an old kind of play and with a new kind of play. So let's say you are doing a spanking scene and you've never done spanking before. You'll tell your dominant or your partner for that evening or day or whatever, I'm really excited about our scene. I'm glad we get to try out spanking. I just want to remind you, I haven't done this type of pain before. So what I would like to do, if you're open to the idea, is use a scale, a 1 to 10 scale, so that way we can calibrate the type of pain that I'm enjoying and how much I enjoy this particular sensation. So your dom or your partner will warm you up. You'll go through the beginning stages of a scene, and every single time they spank you, you will give them instant feedback of where that falls on a 1 to 10 scale. Typically, people will use this to mean 1 is like a light breeze, that was nothing, I barely felt it, to 10 is the complete edge of my limits. If you go beyond this, I will need to red. And anywhere between 4 and 7 is generally speaking going to be the sweet spot for most people. 4 to 5 is going to be very sustainable. 6 to 7 is going to be kind of pushing it, more of an intense sensation, but might be something that you'll need to work up to and use continuously to be able to get into subspace and reach a deeper level of enjoyment with the scene. So you'll just give them feedback. Now, what I also recommend in addition for types of play that you haven't done before is keep this very time limited. You don't need an hour-long scene to figure out if you like something or not. So if you're trying something new, keep it to like 10 to 15 minutes or keep it to like 10 to 20 hits depending on the implement that you're using and the type of pain that you're utilizing. A lot of people can do a mild spanking scene for like an hour, but some people can only take 10 very strong hits with a cane. And that's totally up to you, and again, is one element of determining the kind of play that you enjoy and the type of energy that you enjoy, because that can definitely affect your pain tolerance. I would also recommend in your diary, and when you're keeping track of all of this, write down sort of what number range were you in, generally speaking, in the scene? And also, because I forgot to mention this earlier, the general category of pain that you would categorize this as. Was it primarily a stingy sensation, a thuddy sensation, a scratchy sensation, a cutting sensation, etc.? How much did you enjoy that? If it was something where it was a mix of multiple types of sensation happening at once, did you enjoy one type better than the other? Was one type harder to sustain than the other? And especially that's true when you're doing something that involves multiple different types of sensation going on or different toys going on throughout the entire scene. But again, I recommend keeping it very time limited, 10 to 15 minutes, and only focusing on one type of implement or one type of sensation. And as you become more experienced and as you kind of are able to develop a baseline of what your pain tolerance looks like. So for example, you figure out over a couple weeks, okay, I generally seem to like stingy, I generally seem to like it on this part of my body. Let's go ahead and try some more types of stingy toys, let's do longer scenes, let's use more implements. Still keep track of that, because if you're doing longer scenes, you might find that you become exhausted quite quickly. You may find that different types of toys wear you out more quickly. You may find that doing 3 really hard hits in a row makes you red immediately. You may also find that doing 3 hard hits in a row is a lot easier for you to sustain than an hour-long scene. So all of that is very important information to have. And like I said earlier, it does vary throughout time. So if you have been doing BDSM for a year or 2 years, or you've been doing impact play with the same partner for several months, and all of a sudden your body goes, I cannot take this type of pain anymore. I used to really enjoy whips, and now I can barely stand the sight of them. What the hell is up with that? Well, bodies change, pain tolerance changes depending on where your hormone levels are at, how hydrated you are, what your diet is like. All of that can affect how your body is perceiving different types of sensations. So that's another reason why the diary is, again, very important, because you can look back and determine what was going on when my experience of the sensation started to change. Did I change my diet? Did I go through a breakup? Was I having a hard time at work? What was going on? And the diary is definitely not a requirement, because I know some people will have difficulty keeping track of that. So if you can't write it out, at least try to keep a running dialogue of it and be conscious of it when you're doing scenes, because if you keep a very robust mental diary of what you've done in BDSM rather than just not thinking about it and not being mindful, even that will be very helpful for you determining where your pain tolerance level is at. And you may find as you are going through this process that your pain tolerance will increase, that you will be able to take more pain. That once was a 7 for you is now a 4. You may also find that what used to be an 8 is now a 10. And all of that is totally fine. That's part of learning more about your masochism and learning more about how to take impact play. And as you're doing this, I would also recommend that you communicate it with your partners, because this is very much a positive feedback loop kind of process. If you are able to get your dom more information, they will be able to create better scenes for you. And if you can have better scenes, your pain tolerance may be able to increase, or you may be able to do longer scenes or more scenes or whatever. And all of this is really just basically a way to communicate to your partner how you're feeling about something. Now, for those of you who want to know what your pain tolerance is before you ever do a scene, I would say knowing that is a very difficult thing to get started with. It's very much better to start off with, like, I don't know anything about my pain tolerance level. I don't know what kind of sensations I enjoy. Let's just go slowly. But I know that some of you are really going to want to know, especially if you're in a long distance relationship and you finally get to meet after 2 years, how do you know what your pain tolerance is and what type of pain that you might enjoy? And I'm going to make some very blanket statements here about what I have observed that different people enjoy. Generally speaking, if you are a smaller person like me, I am 5'3", I'm about 100 pounds, I like stingy sensations because I don't really have the tissue to work with to be able to take thuddy type pain. So if you are smaller, I would maybe recommend starting off with like a spanking scene or something like that, because then, you're not really getting that sort of uncomfortable sensation that at least I have experienced and people who are my size experience, where like it just goes into your body and into your bones, and that can very quickly become uncomfortable. So if you're a smaller built person, I'd recommend starting off with sting if you don't know anything else, because generally speaking, you're probably going to enjoy that more than thuddy. If you're a larger bodied person, you may get more intensity and more sensation out of doing thuddy impact play because you have more tissue to work with. You have just more stuff that your body can absorb, and the sensation, I think, tends to be a lot more gratifying for people who have more tissue to work with. And those are just very general observations. There's also scratchy, and there's also cutting type sensations. Link to my video again down below where I talk about different types of pain. But again, you really won't know for sure until you try it. You may build up this fantasy in your head that you love whips, but you may also experience that the second a whip touches your body, you start crying and you hate it and you can't stand it. And that's okay, and that's why it's a lot better to just go into it without any preconceived notions about where your tolerance is and what kind you like, because you really won't know. Anyways, I'm going to stop harping on that point because I think hopefully you guys have gotten the idea, because it's really like anything else in BDSM. You can build up a giant fantasy around it for 20 years and then finally do it and then just hate it. And that's especially true with impact play, because so many people really value it in our community that they can spend 10 years building up a fantasy in their head while they have an amazing 2-hour-long romantic flogging scene, and then they can't stand the sensation of a flogger. So really just don't put yourself in that situation is what I would say. Now, if you're looking to improve your pain tolerance or want to do more with pain, I will be making a follow-up video where I talk about how to do that, and also some processing tips for how to process pain during scenes and after scenes, so definitely be on the lookout for that. This is all I really wanted to cover in today's video, so if you guys have any comments or questions, please feel free to put that down below. If you want to find links to my social media, support this channel, etc., I will put a link to all of that down below in the description box. Again, thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. Every month, I'm completely floored by the support that I get. You guys are what makes this channel possible, what makes these videos possible. So again, thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe because I make videos twice a week. And again, thank you. And until I see you guys again, hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.